Hello, welcome to another edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at Birdland Jazz Club here in New York City. In 1979, jazz vocalist and pianist Diane Schuur performed at the Monterey Jazz Festival, and she was discovered by who would become one of her dear friends as well as mentors, the great Stan Getz. This week here in New York City's famed Birdland Jazz Club, Diane Schuur is celebrating a lot of facets of her career. One, she's celebrating her 60th birthday, as well as she's releasing a brand new tribute record to two of her great mentors. And I'm talking about the great Stan Getz as well as vocalist Frank Sinatra. Tonight we sat down and reflect on the legacy of both musicians. We talked about how she and Stan formed a very fruitful relationship throughout her career up until his death. And we also talk about and reflect on 60 years as being one of the most important jazz vocalists of her generation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the sounds of Miss Diane Schuur live here at Birdland here in New York City, here on the Pace Report. Deeds, happy 60th birthday, and it seems like everything has come full circle. This brand new record, I Remember You, with love to Stan and Frank, really kind of goes back to the beginnings of where it started.
Yeah, the roots absolutely to the roots of jazz, which is, that's where my home is, really,
Now, this record, you have Alan Broadbent. He did some arrangements for this record. Tell me about the selections of songs for this, because this is such a dynamite. Well, two of the guys that you're paying tribute to are just really dynamite.
Of course. Well, it encapsulates on a lot of levels, from a very personal level, as far as my journey, as far as the Love Boat is concerned, if you will. All of the different shadings of that, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to the journey that this album takes us all on, really. So,
going back to 1979 at the Monterey Jazz Festival,
right.
This was the very first time that you encountered Mr. Getz.
Correct. Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, he says, I'm going to make you a star, and that's what he was telling me, and it was just kind of like a moment in time, and I was thinking in my head, oh yeah, sure, I've heard that a lot. And then when he called me, I was at home. I was living in a little one-room apartment in Seattle, in downtown Seattle, near the Pike Place Market, and here I was, and this is when I was still out there tipping and tripping, and I just ordered a Shakey's pizza, and I had a glass of beer. I don't do pizza much, and I definitely don't do the beer anymore. But anyway, Stan Getz calls and says, "Hey, Deeds, would you like to come to the White House? I really would love to bring you as my protege to the White House." And I said, "Sure. I don't have any bookings that week, so." That's exactly what we did. It was an all-star jazz concert with Chick Corea and, of course, Stan Getz and Dizzy Gillespie and his protege John Faddis, and Itzhak Perlman was in charge of, playing a little bit of, the violin, especially at the end when we all jammed on Summertime, and of course Nancy Reagan, excuse me. Two completely different people. I must have Nancy Wilson on the brain. Nancy Reagan came up and gave me a great big hug at the end and all that kind of stuff. And And then, of course, I got on GRP Records after that, and, you know, and the rest, as they say, is history, so.
I remember you, you're the one who said I love you too, I do, didn't you know? I remember too a distant bell, and the stars that fell like rain out of the blue. When my life is through, and the angels ask me to recall the thrill of them all, then I shall tell them I remember you.
You know, Deeds, you know, the thing about Stan Getz was that he was an iconic figure in jazz.
Yeah.
But people want to know how the relation between you and Frank came about, because he had a tremendous impact on you vocally.
Well, let me tell you, at the time that all this with Frank Sinatra got together, I was being managed by Paul, his name is, what's his last name? Oh my God, I'm having a jazzheimer moment. Paul Cantor. And Paul passed away recently. But he was just so, he brought that about. He brought what happened was I was doing a gig in Oklahoma, right? And I found out that Liza Minnelli couldn't make this engagement that Barbara Sinatra was putting on. It was a benefit for abused and neglected children. And so they needed a replacement for Liza Minnelli. And so Paul, or Polly Wally, as I affectionately call him, said, well, Deeds can make the date. You know, Diane Schuur can make the date. So they got me, and I stayed at Frank Sinatra's house. And, oh, it was just so, it was so cool. I met up with Sammy Davis Jr. and just so many wonderful celebrities. And then the Smothers Brothers, I think they even showed up, because I was on their show a couple of days later after the deal, you know. It was kind of like a revival kind of thing that they had on CBS, you know. This was in '88, so it was just an amazing experience. And Quincy Jones conducted the orchestra, and you know, and he would ask me every day when I would come out there and sit by the pool, he'd come up to me and he says, "Hey, Deeds," and I say, "Hey, what, Q?" And he goes, "Are you living large?" And I was in body circumference. I was really living large back then, but anyway, it was just such a great experience. And yes, Frank Sinatra was, you know, a heavy influence, because I just remember hearing so many of his wonderful songs, Young at Heart, and seeing a bunch of his movies. And in fact, that's the name of a movie that he starred in, you know, and just an amazing talent, and really through his music taught me a lot. Between him and Stan Getz taught me a lot about interpretation, how to really bring the dynamics out in a song, not giving it all away in the first couple of notes, but just to be really subtle, even more subtle about it. And so I just feel very honored to be able to make such a tribute to these legends. And as a matter of fact, Frank Sinatra has on his headstone, in the desert, you know, where I live. He lived in Cathedral City, and that's where I live now, near Palm Springs. But the headstone said Francis Albert Sinatra, and it gave the dates of, you know, how long he lived and everything. But it said, the epitaph was, "The best is yet to come." And every time I think about that, it almost brings me to tears, because, you know, in my midlife, that's exactly what I feel is happening, because a lot of things have come full circle, and it's kind of like a whole new chapter, kind of like hitting the reset button, if you will, on a lot of levels for me. So, yeah.
You know, Frank Sinatra was the master of singing all genres of music styles, and just collaborating with so many composers and writers.
Yeah.
I bet you went through hell selecting the songs for this record.
It took a few months. Marianne Topper, my manager, she's super cool, man. She managed Diana Krall and Jane Manheit or Monheit, whichever the pronunciation is. But anyway, we took a lot of time in selecting this material, and it just came about so nicely. It's so funny. We took a long time to select it and 2 days to record it. So, wow. Yeah, wow. But that's jazz, you know. I mean, the musicians were just awesome on this record too. So.
What is it about today's jazz vocalists and music, or just vocalists in general, Deeds, that either are not connecting with the music or really not conveying what you're talking about as far as emotions and the words to the lyrics of these songs?
It's a different era that a lot of young people these days haven't really been exposed to. If I'm right in kind of like, that's my assessment of it, and it's not actually their fault. It's just it's a different generation. I know what the generation gap kind of means, because as far as music is concerned, I really can't relate much past like 1980, 1985, right. When things were still on vinyl and, and all of that kind of stuff. But it is the way it is. But as long as I'm living and breathing, I want to be able to keep this kind of music alive if possible.
At 60 years old, you've seen a lot of things and experienced a lot of things.
Oh, wow.
What are you thinking about now, reflecting on what you've been through? Because you've been through quite a bit.
Yeah, been through, you're right. I've been through a cycle of, a wonderful marriage that, needed to end because of illness and all of that kind of stuff. But very fortunately, it was very amicable, and I'm very grateful that I've had the type of love that I've had. I've had a wonderful support system of people, including yourself, that have really seen me through some tough times. But you know what, Brian? I'm really embracing my freedom now. I'm really digging it. I love living at the desert needle pad. I love dictating my own hours when I'm home, and if I want to get up at 2 a.m. in the morning and do my 4-mile workout, nobody cares, man. It's like, I get this routine going, and I get up and put on a pot of, of coffee, Peter Percolator is perking away, and I'll jump into the shower and then just kind of like get on with my day and put on a little bit of light classical and socialize with friends and just lead a good life. I really have a lot of blessings. I have nothing to complain about. I'm very happy. Well, if the definition of happiness, there's a saying by William Blake, those who kiss the joy as it flies live in eternal sunrise. And because, like there's another saying, this too shall pass, I'm just living the wave, riding the wave, and loving every minute of it. And because of one of the things that I'm grateful for is sobriety has made it very, very necessary to be able to live and experience all of the feelings instead of anesthetizing, the things that I used to do and run away to. And now I don't. And I do my best to just live on life's terms, live life on life's terms. And it's not always easy, but it's paramount to my growth and experience and what I can bring to the world. And the thing that I think that I've learned more than anything else is how to give and receive love, and in the receiving of love and in the giving of love is how to be able to cherish other people more than versus what can I get out of this relationship or relationships. You dig where I'm coming from?
Yes, indeed.
And it's kind of, maybe it's just one of the things that's just, maybe that's one of the maturation points that has happened to me. And if God wills it, as far as a second time around for me, that's great. But if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with cake without frosting. I'm okay with all that. And but I still have to have my popcorn with butter, okay?
I got you.
And so, so that's, you know, that's where it stands with me. I have so much to be grateful for. I have an attitude of gratitude, and figure as long as I wake up and I'm still breathing and I'm still have the, you know, some brain cells left as far as my memory is concerned, then everything's cool, man. Everything's cool. So life is to be loved and to be lived, and I'm grateful to be on the planet.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here, Birdland, here in New York City. I'd like to personally wish Diane Schuur a happy 60th birthday. Also, I'd like to personally thank her for her time. Also, I'd like to personally thank the staff and management here at Birdland for their warm hospitality and support. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace.